The truth is that today it was not a penalty, and it had a direct impact on maybe a title, maybe, because there's a race there, and maybe on playoffs.
Listen, we can talk tactics all day because every day we'll have good tactics, but you get nothing here, and I'm surprised. I think we both aren't penalties. It changes the absolute outcome of the game. It's poorly managed, and every time you come here, it's no different. Pacific Rio last week had 2 goals that were ruled out. So I just think now, if this is to be a playoff game, I'm tired of coming here and getting on the wrong end of bad decisions, because I feel for our lads because they've performed well, and I think it's just ruined the game.
Today we lose because of a bad decision of the referee, a clear offside in the penalty action, and I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed because we fight so much, we work so hard, and it seems that it's not enough. It seems that when you have it in your fingers, somebody takes it from you.
A controversial stretch of decisions from the referees in the Canadian Premier League. That's what we want to discuss next. Obviously, Carlos Gonzalez, Tommy Wheeldon Jr., Phil Dos Santos, all sounding off in the past few weeks. And look, there's a couple of things to sort of acknowledge right away. One, it's crunch time in the season. So every single wrong decision will feel like it's personal. And I get the frustration from managers. 2, this is not the only league in the world where coaches, players, supporters aren't happy with the referees. But the question that we want to ask, because we've heard it from some of those coaches over the weeks, Gareth Wheeler, is throughout 6 years, the standard of play in the Canadian Premier League has gone up. The coaches believe, and I know it's multiple because I've had phone calls and text messages about it for years, they don't believe that the standard of officiating is rising as well. Is that fair criticism, or is that just a lot of frustration, spur of the moment, immediate reflection, and you're getting those comments and those sound bites when teams have either lost or drawn when they felt that they deserved more?
It's going to sound like I'm playing it safe here, but it's a little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I would expect the officiating to be better than it has been. I thought, to be fair, I thought the start of the season, the refereeing was pretty good across the league. But as the games ramp up, the intensity picks up, there have been far too many mistakes for my liking. I'll get into the way that they handle games a little bit later on, but what happened Monday in Winnipeg, the handball that was given, which led to a penalty and a 1-1 draw, I can't even rationalize how this was given as a penalty. And it's not just the referee in the middle, the assistant referee's right there on the touchline as well. And it's a clear view to a player with his hands behind his back. Like, where is he going to put his hand? He's moved his hands out of the way so they're not part of the play. To me, this just lacks common sense about the situation, how that is a handball. There's been too many calls like that, ones that just jump off the page that are completely indefensible. Referees need to do a better job. Again, it's not just on the referee in the middle of the field. They need to communicate with their assistant referees better. And that's where I think the biggest breakdown is, the collective communication amongst officiating crews.
I think the refereeing, and this is my feeling not only for the CPL but MLS, is that the standard of play, the standard of, as you mentioned, the standard of play has gotten better, the facilities have gotten better, the fields have gotten better, the sports science has gotten better, and the one thing that I think has really stayed the same has been the refereeing. So what are the solutions? I honestly, for me, I think the only real solution to this, and you guys may think I'm crazy, is you need to go in and offer a number of players a substantial amount of money so that when they're done their career as players, they go right into refereeing. Mm-hmm. For me, that's the only way it gets better, because to your point, there's a lack of feel.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned about not being able to manage games and understand how the game works. You need to have former players in positions as referees to help that. And I think that will help what you're talking about, managing games. Because right now, I don't think they have enough feel for understanding moments, for understanding what players do to get away with stuff, for understanding when it's a tactical foul and when it's just like foolish. And I think that's the big one. And I think that, for me, would be a pretty good solution. Because it's not going to, listen, no offense to referees, nobody wants to be a referee.
No.
It's a terrible job.
It's masochistic. It's crazy. But, like, let's not kid ourselves, because this has been happening. What happened between Cavalry and Forge in the playoffs, in the makeup call on David Norman Jr. that got him sent off? Like, there's been a series. So I understand why coaches in this league look at referees that they see year after year, and they wonder, where are other individuals coming from? Really quickly on your point, where oftentimes these managers are coming out speaking about incorrect calls. What I have a bigger problem with is that lack of feel that you're talking about. It's like understanding what the game is about. When things get a little bit emotional, understand and let the players sometimes get whatever they need to off their chest, as long as they're not doing it in a blatantly aggressive or a completely out of line way. Instead, we just say, card. It's like they take a situation that's heated and they make it worse. They pour fuel all over it. It's because I don't want to speak for individuals, but it's like they've never played the game before. They don't know how to manage players, and they don't understand the flow of the game. That is the biggest issue. Your idea is fair. Just more people that know more about the game. Like, people say laws of the game, it's not just about, it's not black and white, these rules that are called the laws of the game, John. There's more to it.
Listen, I don't want to be a referee, but like if you put me in the middle of a field and said, go out and referee this game, the one thing I could do is manage the situation and manage the game. I may not get all the laws correct, even though I should, because I've been around it for so long, but there's some nuances that maybe I get wrong. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I would be able to manage that group of 22 guys on the field, where we would have been able to make the game flow in a way, make the game be able to be enjoyable, and not me be the spotlight. Because again, I get it, nobody wants to be a referee, but also nobody's paying money to sit in the stands to watch somebody referee a game. Like, just go out there and do a job that nobody can make a comment on. Because guess what? They want to see players play. They want to see these guys stay on the field. They want to see the guys that they came to pay money to see do something cool so they can go talk about it or try it out in their backyard when they go home. And that, for me, is a loss if you can't do that.
Yeah, a couple of things to pick up on there. Obviously, you guys are talking about the written law, letter for letter, and the spirit of the law, the spirit of the game, which can get missed. And something that you bring up on that point of former pros, I know NBA and NHL especially have done a really good job, especially from those minor league feeders, where if you're not quite good enough to crack it, or you have to hang up early for injury or something, there's a good pipeline to bring people in. And I always think in this conversation, one of the reasons that, and there's a lot of them, why the passing of Dylan Powley was so tragic, the former CPLer who passed away earlier this year, he was actually getting into the pipeline. He did take that. He wanted to give back to the game and make an impact positively there. And I think it's a great idea to have more of those former pros stay with it. The other side of this conversation is there's always two ways of looking at it. It's not just that nobody wants to be a referee, but it's you got to have that here, while also understanding that without them, there's no game. And maybe you think they're a necessary evil sometimes, but there needs to be more encouragement for referees to get into it from the grassroots level and continue to progress. And I know that costs money. I know that takes resources. But one of the things that they have to learn, them being the referees, is you have to have a thick skin. Because to your point too, when referees don't do anything egregious, we're not talking about them. It's not a job where there's a lot of praise, a lot of pundits. And I mean, I look at this weekend, particularly in the CPL, I don't think there was one missed call this weekend the entire time. And it's a recurring theme over a body of work and the catchy sound bites. But it begs the question here, John, is it sometimes, or even right now within like the undercurrent of this conversation, are the players, are the coaches, are the pundits too harsh on the referees too?
No. I mean, listen, the only way you're going to get anything better is to criticize it and look for ways to improve it. I mean, you can't just sweep it under the rug. It has to get better. I mean, the standard of play has to get better. The coaching has to get better. This league is developing players. It's developing coaches. So let's develop referees. Let's get it going and develop referees to move up to the next level and be on the grand stage at a World Cup refereeing big matches. I mean, that for me would be, a good, pipeline or dream of something that could happen.
We need more. What's disturbing or potentially troubling as the Canadian Premier League expands, as the NSL comes into play, we need more better referees, not fewer. So if this is the standard, then oh boy, it's going to continue to be an issue going forward. Look, the Canadian Soccer Association, under their umbrella, is referees. Like, we think, what are the players going to get paid? How do you fund this association and that association and youth teams? Well, it's very important for us to develop referees, especially when some of the better ones end up refereeing in American League and Major League Soccer
almost
as well.
Immediately, too.
So this should be more of a priority for the Canadian Soccer Association, but issues like this, when there's other pressing issues, oftentimes gets swept under the rug or pushed away. Also, at the same time, there's more that the referees in this country can do to show transparency and maybe sometimes extend the olive branch. Not just say, well, we got the call right no matter what.
Yeah.
When they send out their match reviews, whether the calls are right and wrong, and those go to the teams, publicize them. Make it go public. Like, that's what they've done in the NBA. So you at least understand when there's an acknowledgement. It might not make, I mean, you're a former coach, John. Like, it might not make you feel better in that moment if you're like, yeah, we knew we were right. We knew that wasn't a call. But at the end of the day, there's a little bit of transparency. But it's just not understanding the way that suspensions are dealt with. There's a lot of things that need to tidy up that can be a little bit more transparent that I think that would work in the favor of everyone involved.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think a lot of times what happens is there's no acknowledgement. Yes, no acknowledgement of mistakes. That's okay. Like, mistakes happen. Yes. Players make mistakes. Coaches make mistakes. A lot of times I felt like the referees just tried to cover up in their reports a mistake instead of going, yeah, we didn't get this right. This is how we're going to do better next time. And by the way,
that's infuriating, though.
It'd be upsetting. It would be, but at least they're admitting it instead of trying to mask it over. Like, and I felt like that happened more times than not.
It's more infuriating when you get back the report. It says, no, the referee got it right in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Absolutely.
Like, just tell me the truth here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sympathetic to referees in a moment where clearly they got it wrong. Yeah. And they know that they got it wrong. Like, these things happen. Like, there's no need to introduce VAR. We don't need to complicate things. We need help. Just Adam, one other thing. Like, some people say I'm crazy because I've been proposing this for years
yes, the
now.
Gareth Taylor theory.
Let's try to have a second referee on the field. They did this in hockey in a smaller area because the game became too fast. Soccer's getting faster and faster all the time. The players are more athletic. It's more end-to-end. It's all about angles. The fourth official, for me, is completely useless. Playing like peacemaker between benches and... come on. You don't need to hold up a sign about how much stoppage time there is. I'd rather have an extra official on the field. You can manage the game better that way. I know that they might look at the game in a different way, but if they're trying to be more black and white and stick to the laws of the game, isn't that the way to do it? Like, let's show some maybe invention here and do something different.
I like that idea. Why not have another set of eyes to help out? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I couldn't agree with you more with the fourth official. Because the fourth official...
Useless.
You know, half the time they're not even looking at the game.
No.
So I think for me, that it would be great to have another referee on the field helping manage the game.
If coaches need someone else to talk to during the game, bring your therapist along for the ride, honestly.
We got to go to break there. The point you raise also comes back to we need more refs. Because if we're having a second one on the pitch, we need more. And also, despite this entire conversation, I'm not trying to undermine it. Thank you, referees. Because, again, without you, there is no matches. We just want to continue to see everything improve in this league. Surely the coaches do as well. We got to step aside. When we come back, we are going